Welcome to the Real Estate PB&J Hour on Money Talk 1310 and 100.9 FM. Rose and Womble Realtor Paul Fuqua is here to share market facts, the fundamentals of selling, buying, owning, and improving your home, plus interesting experts. Now, here is Paul.
Welcome to the Real Estate PB&J Hour. Today, we're going to continue our discussion of the serious pitfalls, or some serious pitfalls, to avoid when you're buying, maintaining, or improving your home. The purpose for this show is to share real estate news, advice, and experience to help you make sound decisions that can affect one of the biggest investments you'll likely ever make. That is your home, your property. I'm Paul Fuqua. I'm a full-time real estate agent with Rose and Womble Realty. I've been lucky enough to help hundreds of buyers and sellers over my career in this area over the past 25-plus years. My co-host today, once again, is real estate broker in charge of the Greenbrier office of Rose and Womble, Kim Pimento. Last week, Kim, we covered a number of things to avoid doing or failing to do as you go about selling a home. Today, we're going to put on the other hat and talk about being a buyer. Are you looking forward to that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Now, this show is all about the fundamentals of real estate, and that's why we named it after a fundamental component of the American diet of PB&J, peanut butter and jelly. We still have that ongoing poll to determine the favorite jellies that people use. Grape is in the lead. Strawberries coming up fast on the outside turn. And lingonberries are dead last. And I'm sorry to hear that because that's a delightful...
Are you surprised?
No, there aren't that many Swedish folk that out there eating PBJ and meatballs. Lingonberries. Try them. You'll like them. Okay. We want to make this show relaxed. We want it to be collegial and equivalent to sitting around on your deck or your front porch with a cold one in your hand and talking about the real estate market as it exists today and what you can do to help protect your interests. Now, one of the key things that you'll hear people talking about, and I did yesterday, I was on the golf course, of course, was asked about the statistics and the dynamics of the market. And one of the great things that Kim brings to the party is some really very valuable statistics so that you can sound educated when you're talking to the neighbor across the back fence. What have you got for us today?
All right, let's go ahead and start with rates.
Oh, yeah, rates.
Yeah, that's always an interesting one. Well, they haven't gotten a lot better. They've just kind of switched things around. Yes. They kind of change them around. They do that often. So non-conforming is 5.125% with 0 points.
Those are jumbo loans.
Yep, okay. Jumbo loans. Right. Conforming 30-year is 5.375% with 1 point. Remember, 1 point is 1% of the loan amount.
Right.
All right, conforming investment with 25% down is 5.375% with 3.125 points.
3.1%.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, because that, on a $200,000 house, that's a little over $6,000.
Yeah. But that's for an investor who's already putting 25%
correct,
down.
Right. So there's no PMI or anything on that. So FHA, 4.875% with 1 point.
Right.
VA, 5.125% with 1 point.
Now, folks, when we're asked, as I was yesterday on the golf course, or Kim is whenever she's in meeting with the general public, as she does quite frequently, we're always asked, well, what's the rate? What's the interest rate? And we can't give you an honest answer without having a calculator in hand, because the effect of points is applied to the overall cost of your loan.
Right.
So it may well be a 5% interest rate, but you're paying 2 points.
Right. They kind of stir it up and they're going to get their money.
Yep.
And they just kind of make it different. One example of this is just the rates as quoted on August 8th, 2022. The conforming investment loan was 5.625% with 2.625 points. Then now Thursday here, they've changed it to 5.375% with 3.125 points. So they went down on the percentage.
On the rate.
On the rate, and then they went up on the points.
Sure.
And they did the same thing with FHA. They lowered the percentage of the rate, and then but they added a point. Well, Monday it was 5.25% with no points.
Yep. See, folks.
So it's the same thing.
It's a game.
Yeah, it's a game.
It is a game. What people need to do is understand that you're going to end up paying X amount of money per month for a house. And if you want to buy a house, you're going to pay the freight. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm sorry, but that's the situation today because money costs money. Now, we came out of a long period of time where we had historically low interest rates, and we didn't have points because we had a strong economy. Right now, things have changed. It's a dynamic market. And housing shows up first. It drives our economy to a degree that's almost frightening. Anyway, how about locally? We know the rates are there. We know that people were going to be able to afford to buy a house if their price point matches what they want to spend per month. And that's the most important thing that you can do when you sit down with a lender is determine how much you can afford comfortably, emotionally and financially on a monthly basis,
right,
to house yourself.
All right, you want to start off with the national reports?
What do you
national
think?
Down to local?
Yeah, why don't we? The national's got some interesting stuff.
Yeah, let's talk about the national. So this information came from the National Association of Realtors from Michael Hyman. He's the research data specialist there. And this report is for the second quarter of 2022.
Okay, that's the end of June.
Yep. So here we go. The National Association of Realtors reported that home price growth remained strong for the second quarter of 2022. Prices continue to rise, with 80% of the market showing double-digit home price appreciation.
That's across the country, folks.
Yeah, across the country. National median prices rose 14.2% year over year to $413,500, rising above $400,000 for the first time.
Now, remember, in May, we actually had, for a brief period of time, a median price of $416. Right. Now it's fallen back at the end of June, and we're now in August because it takes a while to compile all these statistics.
Right.
Now we're at $413.
Right. We'll probably show a little bit of decline on the next quarter report, but this doesn't reflect Hampton Roads. We have a pretty good market here. We're not one of the top.
Do we have the median? What is our median price here?
I think we're a little over.
We're under 4. We were 365 or 368. Does that?
Yeah, but I think we have to figure. We'll have to look at that one. Yeah. I didn't look that one up today. The quarter's monthly mortgage payments on a single-family home increased to $1,810 compared to $1,213 just 1 year ago. Now that's a $600 gap.
That's 50%.
Increase.
That's a 50% increase.
So qualifying median family incomes rose to $86,880 compared to the first quarter of 2022, which the qualifying income was only $66,096.
So that's all for the same amount, same loan amount. That's not different loan amounts, folks. Yep. That's the same loan amount. And then
a year ago it was only $58,224. So the effective 30-year fixed mortgage rate increased to 5.32% in the second quarter of 2022 compared to 3.05 1 year ago.
With no points.
Yeah, with no points. That is amazing.
Well, it's a consequence of the money markets.
Yeah. I mean, it's the way it's just the way our world and financial world works. But
it will change.
It's a bit of quick work. It happened so quickly. I think that's what the biggest shock is. It wasn't gradual. It was just we opened our eyes and boom.
Well, I think also when this transpired a generation ago, there wasn't as much attention paid to the interest rates. I can recall looking in the newspaper and having a table of interest rates being charged by local banks. Mm-hmm. And you would be able to see what this bank or that bank was charging, or lenders, what they were charging for a standard loan. And it was eye-opening, and it was also a form of competition. Now we have major national firms that are out there that have a greater influence on what's going on with the rates than do the local lenders. And that's why I always suggest shop the local guys. They can generally compete very, very, very well, if not better than the nationals. Yeah,
they can negotiate a little bit. Plus, their underwriters are local. That's a nice thing about the local lenders. But next on the national market, Let's talk about the 5 most expensive single-family markets. So we'll go from the lowest up to the highest. So California, San Diego, Carlsbad area comes in at number 5.
And what's their average or median price? It's
$905,000.
Okay, so if you move to San Diego, you're gonna buy a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2,000 square foot house. You can
probably
spend
about
$1 million.
1,500, 1,200 square feet. Imagine. So then urban Honolulu hits at $1.128 million.
Okay.
So that that's expensive to live there. Then coming in at 3rd was Anaheim, Santa Ana, Irvine,
right.
California, 1.260.
Right.
And then San Francisco, Oakland, Hayward, California came in at 1.380.
Okay.
And this is millions, folks. And then in San Jose, Sunnyvale, Santa Clara, California came in at 1.875.
Wow. Now think about it. When those people who are leaving California and they've sold their home.
Those are my best clients. I love
they're
those.
great.
I love those people.
You get New York, California, New Jersey, Long Island. They come into this area and they go, wow, that house is only $700,000. And you're going, that's a big house. And they're,
let me show you another one. That's what you really say.
Yeah, no, I don't do it like that. I said, well, let's go on to the next one.
Yeah, we're thinking, oh my gosh. So let's go. This is a good one because you like one of these, Paul. The least expensive single-family markets. Okay, so we'll start with the highest. So Elmira, New York, came in at $148,000. Boy,
you ever been to Elmira, New York?
No, I have not.
I don't think I've ever been. I've been to Newburgh, which is up on the Hudson Valley, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Youngstown, Warren, Boardman, Ohio, Pennsylvania came in at $143,000. You can buy yourself a house.
Yep, been there.
Peoria, Illinois, came in at $141,000. Okay. So if you want to live in Peoria, Illinois, you can get yourself a house there for $141,000. Sounds like a deal to me.
It certainly is.
Cumberland, Maryland, and West Virginia.
I love that.
$139,000.
Folks, Cumberland, Maryland, that is a gorgeous area of this country. It's mountainous. Frostburg State is there as a university. They hold the Alhambra Invitational basketball tournament in Cumberland every year, and went there a number of times with high school teams. Anyway, it's a great place.
Well, the cheapest.
Okay, I'm ready.
Decatur, Illinois.
What is in Decatur, Illinois?
You can buy houses for $123,000. That's what's in Decatur.
I'm going to get the trailer out tonight and take off for Decatur. Anyway.
Yeah, that sounds like kind of a fairy tale or something. Decatur, Illinois.
Yep.
Going to buy me a house.
Well, wait a minute. Now, you know what's on tonight?
What?
Tonight is Field of Dreams. The Chicago Cubs are playing the Cincinnati Reds in Illinois, right? Isn't that where Field of Dreams?
Iowa.
I'm sorry. What DeKalb? What?
Iowa corn.
What is the city it's outside of?
Isn't it like Dyersville or something like that?
I don't know, but if you haven't ever seen Kevin Costner's film Field of Dreams, it's a classic. Go see it.
Great movie.
Oh, it's a wonderful movie. Thank you, Dino. But the most important thing is the Cubs and the Reds are playing in the field right next to the movie field, and it's the Yankees did it last year, and it was the Yankees and the Yankees and the Red Sox, the White Sox, Yankees and the White Sox did it last year, and it's emotional. It's if you're at all a baseball fan, and if you have any recognition of the impact of baseball on a family, you see that movie, and to see two major league teams playing baseball before 6,000 fans, literally in the middle of a cornfield. It's spectacular. And I think it's on network TV tonight at 7 o'clock. So tune in, folks.
Great.
Please do. Anyway, sorry.
I don't know if y'all can tell, but Paul is very passionate about baseball.
I love baseball.
All right, so here's another one from the newsroom of the National Association of Realtors. International buyers purchased $59 billion worth of U.S. residential properties from April 2021 to March 2022.
59, you say million or billion?
Billion.
That's all residential.
Billion.
We're not talking
billions.
$59 billion worth. I didn't know there were $59 billion worth of houses for sale in the United States in that period of time.
Miss Carl Sagan. So it's up. I love that guy.
Yeah, isn't he great? Yes.
So it was up 8.5% from the previous year, and breaking a 3-year streak of declines. The 98,600 existing homes sold, the lowest since NAR tracking began in 2009, were down 7.9% from the previous year.
And we're talking, this is just foreign interests buying American residential properties.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. In terms of an overall dollar value, rising foreign buyer prices offset the annual decline in homes sold.
All right. Now, what's the background? At one time, the Dutch owned huge amounts of property, land in the United States. But of the buyers, what percentage are from Holland, or where are they from? Are they?
This was really interesting. The top 5 countries of origin that are buying these U.S. residential sales of the single-family homes, or what the condos or whatever, are China, Canada, India, Mexico, and Brazil.
Okay, my gosh.
So that and then the top U.S. destinations.
Oh, wow. This is going to be easy. Florida
for foreign buyers. Were Florida.
Yep.
We're only once. California, Texas. Yeehaw! I love Texas. Arizona, New York, and North Carolina.
North Carolina, I can understand. New York, I can understand too, because the very money will come in there and spend $3 or $4 or $5 million for an apartment. Folks, we're going to take a short break. You're listening to the Real Estate PB&J Hour here on 1310. Please call us if you have any questions. 757-497-1310. We'll see you in a minute.
Now back to the Real Estate PB&J Hour on Money Talk 1310 and 100.9 FM. Rose and Womble Realtor Paul Fuqua gives you the fundamentals of real estate selling, buying, owning, and improving your home.
Welcome back. This is Paul Fuqua with Rose and Womble. We are listening to the Real Estate PB&J Hour, as was just announced. If you care to talk to us, call in at 757-497-1310. 757-497-1310. You can listen to us here at 1310 AM, 100.9 FM, or moneytalk1310.com. And I would be remiss if I did not remind you that there is a YouTube channel, the Real Estate PB&J Hour, in which all 30, this is the 30th show of this year, are available to you at no cost. We just ask that you subscribe at no cost, and you can listen to your heart's content. You can go back to number 1 and keep on going forward. Now that we're back, I think we have a few more statistics that Kim can give us, and then we're going to go into more some other stuff that may be a little more close to the heart.
Conversation.
Yeah, conversation.
Well, I like this. I think it was so funny. I'm going to let you guess, Paul. Okay, so for these foreign investors who spent $59 billion buying residential properties, and I don't know why that one kind of is... that's a lot of properties in our country. What do you think the average price?
It's got to be somewhere $500,000 or thereabouts.
Yep, $598,200.
Wow.
Median price?
Median is it? I would bet it's below the median national because they're coming in with cash, and they're going to be able to strike a stronger deal.
Yep.
So I would imagine the national median is $413. I would say they're probably in the high threes.
Yeah, and they're not buying in any of the real expensive areas, if you notice. Well, they did buy a little bit in Florida, but and California, but Texas, Arizona, New York, and North Carolina, not quite as expensive.
Right.
So yes, $366,100 was the median price.
That's. Now, those buyers are zeroed in on this area, too, because we are a vacation area. We do have 4 seasons, but we do have a wonderful and extended spring and fall. According
to that Dave Ramsey podcast that I listened to, they didn't really choose Virginia because of our taxes. Oh. We were like number 12.
Yes.
Because of our taxes and
are we talking about corporate tax? No, we're talking about personal income.
Probably hotel tax, right. Just all kinds of taxes.
We got to get Taylor Adams back here, the Director of Economic Development, Deputy City Manager for Virginia Beach, to discuss the tax situation.
All right, well, let's talk about the active stats in the area. Rain just released their stats for July, which is our MLS system, the Real Estate Information Network. And so this is what they said about July 2022, that the active listings were down 10.65%.
From last year.
From last year.
These are all year over year.
Yep.
Okay.
There was 4,129 active listings this year in July and 4,621 in July 2021. But that's still, 4,621 was still low for last July. Pending sales of July 2022, 2,777. In July of last year, 2021. 3,441. That's down 19.3%.
Those are closed sales during the month of July, year-over-year comparison.
Pending.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, those pending. But settled sales was down 23.43%. July of 2022, we closed this last July 2,909. In July of 2021, we closed 3,799.
Okay.
So that's a pretty big difference.
Remember, a real estate transaction isn't done until it's been closed and recorded and the monies have been dispersed to all parties as appropriately called out in the contract.
Yes. New construction, this one surprised me, down 27.96%. In July 2022, there was 237 sales of new construction. In July 2021, there were 329 sales.
You know, that's an amazingly low number for this area
for new construction. Well, it's just so hard for builders to get homes on the ground anymore.
Yes. Well, it's the expense, the fact that the labor market is extremely tight. The material costs have gone up.
Well, getting materials.
Yes, and getting the delivery.
And contractors.
And additionally, there's a premium being paid for land right now. And that's going to continue as long as there are restrictions in place, which we need in many, many instances, so that we don't impinge on the development or the lack of development required by the U.S. Navy in Virginia Beach, the Green Line in Virginia Beach, the areas that aren't serviced by water and sewer in Chesapeake. And those areas are impacted directly by the governmental restrictions on building.
Right.
So, and without new construction, our pressure changes over to the resale, and that's where the first-time home buyer. It's good, but that's where the first-time home buyer gets squeezed out.
Right. Well, the median sales price. So here's the answer to your question. In July 2022, the median sales price was $322,500
in this area. That's all. Oh my! I'm surprised. I thought
that was a little shock. Yes. That's the median, though.
Right.
And then in July 2021, it was $300,000. So it went up.
It did.
So it went up 7.5%.
Okay. Well, we remain a very, very good market for affordable housing.
Oh yeah, we will always be a good market.
Yes.
Military, the shipping industry, the medical industry.
All right. Now, remember, if you want to hear or discuss any of these statistics, call in 757-497-1310. You're listening to Paul Fuqua and Kim Pimento on the Real Estate PB&J Hour at Money Talk 1310 AM, 100.9 FM, moneytalk1310.com. Now, one of the things that we discussed some key elements, and we're going to now move into the key elements that we wanted to avoid in listing and selling your house. That was last week. We went through a series of them, and you, Kim, feel free to jump in because I know we had a lot of discussions. I'm just going to hit real quickly the bullet points of our discussion last week for sellers and the pitfalls to avoid when you're listing your house, putting it up in the market. Is not being prepared, not being realistic in pricing, not fixing stuff that needs to be fixed, not opening the house up to nosy neighbors, not allowing a sign to be posted, remaining on the property during showings, cooking just before a scheduled showing. We definitely said don't cook liver and don't cook Brussels sprouts, letting the yard go to seed, not making the house available to be shown within a 2 to 4 hour window, not removing personal and private items from plain view, not following the actual market values for your neighborhood, and then not getting rid of objectionable odors, personal, cooking, and pet odors especially. Now we move to the buyer side. And we got into this a little bit last week, but the key elements, that I think, the very first thing is to make yourself, if you're going to go out on the market and you want to buy a house, take the steps to have chosen a lender. Shop them. Go to if you're military, Navy Fed, Army National, Chartway, there are any number of great credit unions that can help you. We suggest very strongly that you include in your survey and in your interviewing of lenders the local people, because they know the market and they are someone generally who has a desk, and you can pound on it when you need something done. Go through the application process with them. Do that before you step across the threshold of the very first house you want to look at.
Yeah, because you can get disappointed. People don't really realize that the cost of the loan and what your payment's going to be, and they have a lot of expectations, and then when they go out looking in the wrong price range and have to go down a notch, that's not easy.
I'd never want to have happen to any of my clients what happened to me on my first home purchase, where I had X amount of dollars and I thought I was flush and I was going to go out and I was going to buy this house. And I'd also was I was about 13 months from the inception or beginning of my company. And we were making money and I was paying myself a nice little salary. So it was time to buy the house of our dreams, we thought. And we found one in the company of a realtor and put a contract in, and it was accepted. And we were thrilled. And I called everybody I knew, hey, you got to go drive by and see the house. It's in the right place, and it's lovely, and it's brick, and all pumped up with myself until 3 days later when I got a call from the lender, a National Savings and Trust in Washington, D.C., who, through their VP, informed me that, Paul, you can't buy that house right now. And I said, well, why not? And he said, well, you owe us a lot of money for the business, and all this is all wrapped up into your personal account, so you got to do a little better in the business, number one, and number two, you got to buy a cheaper house.
Yeah, that's hard when you're self-employed, because a lot of times, of course, the magic accounting tricks that we do, we don't show ourselves as making a lot of money, which hurts us when we want to purchase something.
Yeah. If you are a subcontractor, in this instance, I had started a printing business, so I had employees, and it was very easily documented how much I made. It was not so much a question of my income; it was a question of how much debt I had assumed when I bought the business. But within 4 months, I got that clarified and straightened out, and we were then able to go out and buy the house we wanted. However, I knew at that time when I walked into those houses I was looking at, I knew how much I could borrow, and I knew where I was, and I knew that it would be approved, and I wasn't going to embarrass myself by having people drive by the house that I'd bought that I couldn't buy, that I then had to tell them when they asked me on the golf course, why haven't you moved into your new house? And I have to tell them I didn't qualify for the loan, and it got embarrassing. So I don't want that to happen to my clients.
Right. Well, the other thing I think is that also what you qualify for might not be your comfort level. You might want to. A lot of people want to stay under what they qualify for, and that's okay too. Yep. And I think it's very important to stay within your comfort level. You don't want to be house poor. Yeah,
there's nothing worse, because that mortgage payment's going to come up every month, regardless of what you're doing. Yeah.
And then you can't afford to keep the house up. People don't really realize it's not always cheap to own.
That's our third point. They're not being realistic about the actual cost of buying and servicing the debt and operating the house.
Yes.
There are monthly costs that are associated with a house that you must pay. You've got to heat it. You've got to cool it if you want to be comfortable. You've got to have water. You've got to have sewer. All those have a specific dollar amount. Your phone service or cable or TV, that's another monthly cost. The idea of just sticking an antenna up and getting HBO Max doesn't work anymore.
Right.
That didn't happen. There's very little free stuff out there. I know that I sold a very expensive house to a couple at one time, and they were in it for a year and a half, and they called me and said, we need to sell this house because the operating costs for this house are way above what we thought they'd be. And I'd given them the information from the previous owners, and the other previous owners there were two people in this gigantic house, so they didn't heat parts of it. I didn't know that. Nobody knew it. So when they started heating it, and they had 22-foot ceilings, they had the first floor. It was crazy what it cost them. Anyway,
those now ceilings.
Now, the other thing is, when you're out there, you've got an agent, and you're looking at listings on Zillow and on Rain.com and Realtor.com and RosenWomble.com and Paul Fuqua Realtor.com. Do not try to look at more than 5 or 6 houses max in a day.
Right. People always say, "No, we can do more, And but by the end of the day, they're like, which one was this?"
Yes.
So it's really hard. I think 4.
Yeah,
personally.
4. And the other thing I ask my clients to do when we go out and look at houses is to take a copy of the listing and the data sheet I'm providing them, and when they walk out of the front door, write down their first impressions and give it a numeric grade. It can be a 1 through 5 or a 1 through 10, with 10 being the best or 5 being the best or just the reverse, but give it a grade and why. You don't have to share that with your agent, but it's helpful when he or she is going to be looking at houses for you in the future. And if you say, I don't want to have an elevated porch because I tend to fall down easily, so, okay, we know that.
Right.
There are other elements. All right, so that's a key, and that's a key to save your mental well-being.
Right. Well, a lot of times people today, that we don't put them in their cars anymore, and they don't come in the houses. It's all by videos, and
that's nuts. Bluntly, if you're going to spend upwards, what is the median?
$322,000,
yep. Or in nationally that $416,000 or $413,000. You're going to spend that kind of money. That's life-changing money in many instances. And if you're going to spend it, you've got to go through and get a tactile sense. Now, if you're in San Francisco and you want to buy here, it's worth the price of an airline flight and 3 days in the hotel to take a look at houses. It's insane unless you have a family member that knows your taste, your sense of emotional bonding that can help you make that decision.
Right. Yes. And our photographers are very good.
Yes.
So it's hard.
The whole idea behind a listing and the elements describing the listing and the photographs that are taken and the tours that are made, the virtual tours, is to present the property in its best light. Doesn't change the fact that what you can't see on screen may be there and may be something you don't want to see.
Right.
And there may be something about the house that you can't see on a screen and through all the photographs that just for one reason or another doesn't allow you to make that emotional commitment to a house. And as far as I'm concerned, buying a home is an emotional decision first and foremost.
Oh, sure.
It's tempered by the size of your wallet, but if you can't bond with that house, if it can't be something in which you can imagine yourself spending the next 5 to 7 years to 30 years, then it's not going to be the place that you're going to enjoy.
Yeah.
Regardless of price range. All right. We're not going to limit the number of houses. We are going to limit the number of houses you're going to go look at in a day so that you don't become an automaton. And please do not limit the size of the house to a certain minimum footage. I don't want to live in a house that's less than 3,000 feet. Well, the reality is, I can show you 2,600 square foot houses that have the feeling of a 3,600 square foot house, and 3,600 square foot houses that have the feeling of a 2,600 square foot house.
Yeah, I agree, because of the floor plan.
The floor plan,
use of space,
the lighting, all the
lighting
elements.
is huge, and I think that's where a lot of people don't like these older homes, is because they're darker. I like light.
Lights make it, and we can talk about what Bloomingdale's did to the retail market 30, 40 years ago, and that has an impact on the residential home design today. But we're coming up on a station break. This is the Real Estate PB&J Hour. I'm Paul Fuqua. You're listening to us on 1310 AM, Money Talk 1310 AM or 100.9 FM. You can call in at 757-497-1310. See you in a minute.
Now back to the Real Estate PB&J Hour on Money Talk 1310 and 100.9 FM. Rosenwomble Realtor Paul Fuqua gives you the fundamentals of real estate selling, buying, owning, and improving your home.
Yep. Well, this is Paul Fuqua. We're talking about the things not to do when you're out there looking to buy a new home. And hopefully you'll be able to visit our YouTube channel, the Real Estate PB&J Hour, and you can capture what we said about selling last week. And you'll also be able to listen to this and the other 29 shows that are captured there on our YouTube channel, the Real Estate PB&J Hour. This is Money Talk 1310 AM, 100.9 FM, and you can call in 497-1310 at 757-497-1310. Kim and I are talking about, on the buyer side, things not to do, pitfalls to avoid. And one of the last item we discussed before going to break was not being willing to consider lesser amounts of floor space.
Yeah, I think that's silly, because a good layout makes all the difference in the world.
And if you can, when you're out looking at houses, you have a tape measure with you. Or you buy one of those
your
little...
realtor should have one.
Well, I do have one, but I have an electronic one because I'm fancy. I go,
oh, my goodness.
Yes.
One of those little laser things?
Yes, it's cool.
I have one, but I just think they're kind of... I don't trust them.
Hey, well...
I don't trust that. I don't know why.
You can make them cumulative, but, it's not as much client involvement. It's a client can, hey, hold this.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the other thing.
Still don't trust it.
Yeah, well, anyway...
I don't know why.
Number 6 on our list, not seeing past ugly paint.
Oh, yeah.
What's the ugliest paint you've ever seen?
I'm going to make people mad if I say the truth.
Well, say the truth. That's what this thing's about.
The hokey rooms, that dark maroon with that yellow orange, and you'll see rooms painted like that, and it'd be like in gloss. They won't even do it in flat. It's gloss. And it's not that I have anything against that team.
Now, wait a minute. What's the color of UT? University of Texas. That's an orange.
Well, that's an orange.
Yeah, and it's as ugly as it.
Yeah, but I went to Texas Tech. That's red and black.
Oh, okay. All right. So are there? And then if you went into a red and black room.
No, I wouldn't like that either. Unless it was checkered on the floor, maybe. No, not on the walls. Definitely. But and then, the ugliest paint job is probably, I've seen the people who really just don't know how to paint.
Yes.
And that is...
The worst thing is the trim around the doors and windows.
Right.
When it's all sloppy in there, immediately it was an amateur paint job, and immediately that it's got to have to be fixed.
Yes. Or when someone tries to patch up, and you step back, and it's like as if they couldn't tell that was just enough of the wrong color and the wrong sheen that doesn't really look good, but they leave it anyway.
That's where you buy a nice painting.
It's like you just paint the whole wall.
That's not a bad idea. And quite honestly, one wall can be off color.
Yeah, one wall can be off color.
Designer.
That's a little trick. I had a painter tell me, though, you should use flat paint, a higher-end flat paint, because you can always touch it up no matter what.
Really?
It could be 2 or 3 years ago, and you can still touch up flat paint.
Now, how about a lot of the houses that I see today have knockdown? And
that's hard to paint.
When the painters paint it, they don't use a roller; they spray it.
I know, it's so cool, isn't it? It's like throwing mud on the wall, yep. And then they come with that spatula and wipe it down.
We're sorry, we're just having fun with this thing. All right, now look, number 7, not looking closely at the systems and other important elements of each house. Hey, you got to look and make certain the air conditioning unit or the heat pump is at least this century. Hopefully. They have a useful lifespan of about 15 years max. And if you look like something that was dragged out of a Sears catalog in 1958, it's probably going to break down on you. There are home warranty programs. But when you're looking at the house, take a quick peek at the water heater, take a quick peek at the air compressors and other elements of the systems, so at least you get an idea before you bring an inspector in of what's going to possibly be needed.
Where the water heater is, what kind of water heater.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you could look at.
And, of course, all the listings have that information, but it's incumbent upon you as a buyer to exercise the term due diligence and care. Before you decide to buy a house, realize that there are going to be things in that house they're going to need work. They're going to need replacing at some point, unless it's brand new. And even those houses will have things that need to be addressed.
Yeah, I know some people, they'll be walking upstairs and they'll hear that pop, pop. And they think, oh, there's something wrong with the floor, but really it's not. It's just the two subfloors have kind of separated a little bit. All you need to do is when you change the carpet, get a screw and tighten those back down. But and then a stain on the ceiling, of course, that always kind of bothers people.
Well, if you're selling the house, you don't have a stain on the ceiling. You use Kills and you paint.
Some
do. But stains don't appear magically. They are a direct result of water intrusion somewhere.
Right.
But
it could have been stopped.
Yes. But if it's been stopped, if it's been corrected, then a seller has no obligation to inform you that it existed as a leak.
Correct. If you've corrected the proper way.
And that's correct. But if they haven't, then it's misrepresentation and it could be considered litigable.
Right.
And there are instances many times where people have sued for, I don't want to say specific performance, but have sued on the basis of a hidden latent defect by a seller and the seller's agent.
Right.
Unfortunately. The other thing is today, when you go out there in the market and you start looking at houses, you have to accept the reality of competition. How many houses do we have on the market right now? 4,000.
Right.
Normally we carry 10,000. So there is a body of buyers out there that remains relatively constant in this area. Right?
Right. Well, interest rates have really slowed our market down a little bit, though. So we're not seeing the number of contracts, and houses are sitting on the market a little bit, but it doesn't mean that there's not going to be a big price reduction yet. Now,
what we're seeing in terms of price reduction, it's not huge numbers, but we're seeing the houses that were pushed a little bit because in anticipation of more competition, we're seeing those being brought back to where they should be.
Right.
And then if 3 or 4 people are competing because of the house.
We're seeing some closing costs being paid, which is nice, and home inspections back.
Yes. And that's all to benefit the buyer, in all honesty. And sellers have to realize that as the market softens a little bit, they're going to have to really create even more sizzle to the steak that is their house.
Right, because people still are paying for the cream puff properties.
Yes.
They're still seeing over. Yeah, if you have a little cream puff on your hands, you'll still get multiple offers and over the asking price, most likely.
And number 9 on my list is, I think, one of the most critical elements that you have to face as a buyer when you're out there looking in a neighborhood, either if you want to move in the area in which you live right now, or if you're moving into this area. But you've got to clarify what is most important to you in a home beyond just the neighborhood or the schools.
Right.
Is it the commuter? Is it the commute? Is it access to theaters or restaurants or walking to a park or access to the interstate? What elements are critical in your choice of a place to live? Right. And you have to tell your agent that. And if you don't, you're not going to be as happy in the search as you could be.
Yeah, it's very important to talk to your agents, too, because you might be moving here because you've got a new job and you have kids, but what's important to you is that you live X amount of ways from a shopping center, because, so you have to really talk to your agent and let him understand that what's the really most important thing in this house, because you can't assume what people think is important.
Right. We can't, as real estate agents representing buyers, if we make an assumption, we're making a serious error. We have to ask you questions. What do you like about this area? What do you like about this? What would you like to see? And the other thing is, we can't really talk about the school systems, but what we do,
or the neighborhood,
what we do is there are public sources to which we can refer you so that you can do studies, and it is incumbent upon you to do so. There are schools in this area that do not have the best reputation, but that's
a lot
wrong.
Of that's hearsay.
It's all hearsay. And what I've done, if it's a situation where someone really likes a house and there's a question in that person's mind about the quality of the school, go talk to the administrator and go then look at the placements of kids, and especially high schools. Where do they go to school? Out of that. It's amazing. There are a couple schools that don't have that kind of reputation that place more people in Ivy Leagues than the others.
Right. We just assume, like private
too
schools
many
place
assumptions.
more.
Yes. And the other thing, number 10, be ready to pull the trigger on an offer, especially in today's market. There is competition. You see a cream puff. There's a list price. And if that list price is within your range and it's something that you can afford to do, don't hesitate pulling the trigger.
Right. It seems like in these type of markets, though, is everybody has to lose that one house.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden they kind of get on board.
Yes. And that market is not going to change, folks, if the house is prepared and if the house is priced properly. It's going to stay. It will stay as a very important piece of product that someone is going to want. And that someone is going to want it, and they may want it a little more than you.
Right.
But if you are the first in, then opportunity presents itself that you may get the better of the deal. Not eliminating, another key thing, number 11, not eliminating immediately those houses which just don't work.
Right.
You know within the first 30 seconds in a house, whether or not that's going to be.
Yeah, just
something.
turn back around.
Yeah, and tell the agent. But you have to tell your agent why you don't like that house. Articulate it, because it may well be that the next 3 that he's taking you or she's taking you to will have the same kind of components, and it may as well say, well, let's do a drive-by. Never, in my mind, never not go into a house for which you have an appointment. There's nothing more embarrassing to your agent who's made the time available for you to show it. And if you drive up and it's ugly as sin and you don't want to go in it, just do it anyway. One of you get out of the car and go through and say, nope, okay, goodbye. At least...
Well, open the door.
Yeah, open the door, please.
But you'd be surprised how many people that don't want to go in, they go in it and they like it.
Yeah, well...
Because there are houses out there that the inside is just wonderful, but you wouldn't tell from the out.
I had a lovely lady who was buying a very expensive house. She was bringing a company out of Chicago into this area, and she sent me a single line, typewritten page, a full page of all the things she didn't want in a house. And I've told this before, maybe on the air, and that I kept watching how she reacted to houses that we went through. And we were doing 5 a day. Never any more than that. She'd fly in from Chicago. She'd be here for 3 days. We'd look at 15 houses. And what I'd done is I'd already gone through the houses for her and taken pictures and video and sent it. So she had an idea. But she enjoyed the process. And she moved a number of times in her career. And she was a partner in a major firm that was coming here. And there was a house that I'd gone through showing to someone else. And it had... all these things that I thought were great, and all of these things were not included. She didn't want them. They were things on her list. I don't want this. I don't want that. I don't want... Cindy, I want to take you through this house. I know it has all the stuff you don't want, but I like the house. Bear with me. I've already made an appointment. We're going to go in. And if you don't like it, you can kick me to the side. And she said, okay. No sooner had she walked through the door when she said, this is my house. I'm buying this house. And they did. And they loved it. And it had everything that she'd said she didn't want.
Yeah.
It was on a golf course, had a swimming pool. It was The list went on and on and on. And the house was exactly opposite what she said she wanted. So you don't know.
Yeah, that's right. You never know until you walk in.
Yep. And then the other thing that you as a prospective buyer have to remember is that this is an emotional decision.
Yeah, we mentioned that earlier. It's very emotional to buy a house. Very emotional.
Now, we're coming down to what, just a couple minutes?
Yeah.
We have 3 minutes.
Okay, I've got a quote for you. I'm going to have you guess who you think it's from. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that has taken place.
Marshall McLuhan.
No, George Bernard Shaw.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Oh.
I love that. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. And that happens a lot, I think.
Yes. I still, my favorite quote that's come out of your mouth is...
The squirrels.
Give it to us again. That's the best way to end this show.
Okay.
What, the road of life?
Yeah, like the road of life. No. Yeah, make a decision. There's the world is paved with flat squirrels that didn't.
Hey, folks, we're looking for something to end the show that is equally as good as that one. I don't have one, but I do. We'll tell you this. I live in Norfolk, and there is a young teen girl who has 3 chickens in her backyard, and she's in the process of building a coop.
Paul, how do you know a teenager girl has a chicken coop in her backyard?
She doesn't have a chicken coop. That's the problem. She hasn't built a chicken, so the chickens are now kind of they've adopted our front yard.
Oh, okay, okay. I was wondering, are you looking in the backyard?
No. In fact, she is like 15 years old, and she comes over and she takes care of our dogs when we're away.
Oh, okay.
And all of a sudden, we looked out the front door, and there are 3 chickens in my front yard. I'm going, wait a minute, I live in the city. What are these chickens doing here? I thought they'd escaped from some passing truck, on their way to Purdue to be scalped. But
you didn't eat them, did you?
No, I haven't eaten them yet. But I will tell you this. If I keep feeding them, it's going to be reciprocity, because I can see a couple of good drumsticks there.
Yeah, nice fresh chicken.
I don't know the names of the chickens, but I do know that they have now adopted our family and our house. And so if you ever come over into my neighborhood, you'll see 2 red ones and then there's a black one, and they are friendly. And I've had them feed out of my hand.
Yeah, people have chickens for pets, Paul. Not my choice, but
I haven't seen the eggs coming my way yet. But the chickens are showing up, and the dogs have now become accustomed to seeing the chickens. So that's one thing that if you came into a neighborhood, my neighborhood today, where there are 3 houses on the market, you might not want to live there because of the chickens. Or maybe again
you can have chickens, hens, but not roosters.
These are not roosters. Okay,
Yeah.
This is Paul Fuqua and Kim Pimento. We're saying good night. We've enjoyed the 30th show of the Real Estate PB&J Hour. Go to YouTube, the Real Estate PB&J Hour, and we'll be back next Thursday at 5 o'clock on Money Talk 1310 AM 100.9 FM and moneytalk1310.com. Thank you all. Good night.